This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Barney, I got to get your take on Morgan, Riley, Ridley, Gregg. I say neither one of them did anything wrong. As we sit here waiting for the hearing, what's your take on the incident?
Yeah, I hear all about this code, about shooting a puck into the net or, whatever it may be. Listen, the Senators don't have much going on, and this is the most exciting. First of all, there's nothing worse than being in your home building and having 75% of the fans being the opposing team. And that's what happens when Ottawa plays Toronto every single time. So really, Gregg did absolutely nothing wrong. If he wants to pound that puck into the back of the net, God bless him. Let him do it. Now, knowing that, you are showing up the other team. They feel like you're rubbing it in their face. And someone's going, and I have no problem with what Riley did. The problem I have is you can't cross-check him if it was me, I would have been the first shot in the empty net. I think we can agree on that. I'm an ass when it comes to trying to provoke the other team and other teams' fan base. I love it. I relish it. And I would have been the first to jump on a guy if he did it into our empty net at the end of a game. So I agree with both. I would have done both exactly the same, except for the cross-check to the face. I would have dropped my gloves. I would have jumped on him. You can't cross-check a guy in the face, and for that reason, I think he gets 5 games, maybe 6.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
I hope that the CFL looks at things this offseason and says, we got to do something different with this legal tampering period that they've put in. It's anticlimactic. If I say that and it pisses you off, that's your problem, not mine, because it's the truth. It's not like we used to have. Mike Riley, Bo Levi Mitchell, Zach Collaros, all were free agents. It's like, give me some. It ain't a great free agent day.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. We're going to have some fun today. I hope you're ready for that. Coming to you from the beautiful South Florida studio. That's where I'm at. The Moose is in Toronto. Let's bring him in. Crisis averted. Let's get to a funny story here, Moose. I didn't think it was necessarily that funny, but you sure got a bang out of it. There he is. And I was talking to our guy, Jeff, our hotelier to the stars. He wrote me this morning. He says, man, yesterday's show was funny. You tell a great story. You'll get a kick out of this one. I'll line it up for everybody. Here's the roadmap in hour 1. Brendan Parker will join us from the Calgary Flames television. And in hour 2, Taylor Shire from the Leader Post, live from Mosaic Stadium, where the Roughriders are holding a big news conference today to discuss free agency. But 20 minutes ago, maybe not even, I moved my chair back and I knocked over my Ron and Don bobblehead, Moose. I knocked it over and Ron's head shattered. It exploded. And I'm like, oh my. This is not good. This is disrespectful. So I race into the house. I grab this Gorilla Glue. And by the way, don't get this stuff on your hands. Thank me later. So I pulled out a pair of rubber gloves. I pulled them on like this, and I'm ready to glue Ron's head back together. And Serena was like, what are you doing? And I said, a sniper hit Ron McLean, and it shattered his head. And she's like, what? And I'm like, no. The doll. Not the real Ron McLean, okay? Let's make it very clear. He's okay. But I'm trying to put his head back together. The back of his head looks very similar to mine.
Oh, no.
But we've got it up. Yeah. We're gluing them. I got to be a lot more careful with my bobbleheads. That's the moral of the story. You know how much I love them. You'd think I'd treat them a lot better than I do. So that's just within the last 15 minutes. That's the breaking news. Ron McLean will survive. And how are you?
Well, I'm a little better than that. Good. It's a good morning. I'm a little better shape than fake Ron McLean there. So, it's good to be on
He's
the
going to
air.
be fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
this ain't Dealey Plaza. Okay, this is not that. Okay, can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan, and then we'll go.
Hell yes.
And we'll quit with the zany hijinks. What's the big story? I think, again, it's different in everybody's world and purview, but here's mine. Out of Toronto, Bobby McMahon, who registered the first hat trick of his NHL career, and the Toronto Maple Leafs defeated St. Louis 4-1 on Tuesday night. Willie Nylander had the other goal for Toronto. Ilya Samsonov made 14 saves, and the story goes on to say the NHL Department of Player Safety announced shortly before the opening faceoff it had suspended Leafs defenseman Morgan Rielly 5 games for his recent cross-check to the head of Ottawa's Ridley Gregg. It's not like this has not been flogged to death. And for those that don't know that are tuned in, that's okay. We're going to talk about it. You better get up to speed. Go Google Morgan Rielly, Ridley Gregg, because it's the #1 topic across all of Canada since Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada. And I'll be honest with you, this morning I was running 5 miles I did at Johnny O's, and on the treadmill I'm listening to NHL radio, and Gord Stellick and my guy Scott Laughlin said, we can't remember a hit or an incident as polarizing as this issue. So I'll just open it up with our poll question today, which is for Key Auto Group. And at the Key Auto Group, a reminder, they're driven by safety. Experience peace of mind with our comprehensive multi-point inspections. Visit keyautogroup.ca. For automotive excellence, the question is, do you agree with 5 games for Morgan Rielly? And to be honest, it's not a shock to anybody that's been watching this show since Monday. No, I don't agree with it. I think, if anything, he might have got a 5-minute, maybe a 5-minute major for cross-checking him in the head. And people have said some really nasty things, Darren, on our Facebook page. It hurt my feelings with, Rod, stick to football. Rod, you don't know. With what you're saying, that's what's wrong with society today. I've made it very clear, eye for an eye. I'm with that. I don't like showing up the opponent. I would never do it. Apparently now you can. So my vote is no, I don't agree with 5 games. I didn't think he should get any. What are you voting?
I vote no. Although 5 doesn't surprise me. That's what Matthew Barnaby had it at. I would have went with 3. I can't condone cross-checking somebody in the face, but I don't think this is worthy of a 5-game suspension. I thought 3 would have been appropriate.
Okay, well, we are not that show that's going to sit there and belabor and sit in the swamp and talk about the same thing ad nauseum over and over and over. We want to be fresh. We want to be renewable. That's just not us. But I'll say it again. You ever watch the movie Slapshot? And I know that's an egregious representation of violence in hockey. But what did Dave Killer Carlson say as he was getting sewn up by the trainer? He shouldn't have said what he said. That's with the bull, get the horn. That's the way I was raised. That's the way I think it should be. Mark in Melfort writes in and says, only reason the Rielly Gregg issue is so big is because Rielly's a Leaf. If it was Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver, this would have been out of the news cycle by Monday. That may be the case. But as we often say, if my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle.
How about
it is
that?
what it is. It's what everybody's talking about. And by the way, since I left my bell over there on the table, I'm going to say this. Thank you, Mark, for chiming in. He is a beekeeper. And Darren, yesterday I went to the movie The Beekeeper.
You did?
And it was amazing. Yeah. When I read the plot over the air, like with the liner that Landmark Cinemas gives us to read, there's nothing like what the movie was. And maybe that's what the whole idea is to hook you and get you into the theater. But here's what it is. Felicia Rashad, who you probably don't really remember, was the mom on The Cosby Show. She's now old, and she billets a guy that she thinks is a beekeeper, Jason Statham. She gets scammed and all of her bank accounts drained, including the charity that she manages, their fund of $2 million. It gets drained by a scam. Well, it turns out that beekeeper is actually an undercover agent, a killing machine, and her daughter works for the FBI. So they're going to go get the scammer that took all Felicia Rashad's money, the former Mrs. Ahmad Rashad. Look it up. and then the hijinks follow. That was nothing compared like the liner that they read. I should be writing the liners for these movies. But I went, and it was $6 to get into the theater in the afternoon, and I was the youngest person in there by 40 years. So life is great. Just from Jeff the Stamps fan, and by the way, I did see a note on the Stampeders, but Jeff says, here is the fact. Society is changing, and hockey's code doesn't fly anymore. Old school hockey guys have to accept it. It's not about hockey or the code. It's about life. Act like a jerk, you're going to be picking up your teeth with a broken arm. That's where society's changed for the worse. So that's where we're going to have to agree to disagree. Anyways, moving on. And by the way, we have a little bit of something for everybody here. Breaking news. Again, I'll get my bell in a second. But Kadeem Carey has signed with the Toronto Argonauts. I saw that today. So there's a lot of CFL news, that I got a really juicy NFL nugget that I want to get to. But other NHL leftovers, point two. Andre Vasilevsky stopped 36 shots and 3 more in the shootout. And Braden Point scored the only goal of the shootout to lead the Tampa Bay Lightning to a 3-2 NHL win over the Boston Bruins last night. I watched the whole game. It was magnificent. And I'll say something about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Don't sleep on them. Don't. Everybody wants to throw dirt on them. Everybody wants to write them off. Boston did, and how'd that work out? In Edmonton, Connor McDavid had a career-high 6 assists to lead Edmonton to its 8th straight home win, 8-4 over Detroit. I read that like I thought about when I looked at the box score this morning. McDavid had 6 assists. It's another night. Wait a minute. What? 6 assists? He's the 4th fastest player to do it in NHL history. The only 3 that did it quicker hit 600 career assists. Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Bobby Orr, and now Connor McDavid. Darren, what do those other 3 have that he doesn't?
Stanley Cups.
Yeah, that didn't take you long.
No, not at all.
Stevie Wonder can see. Stevie Wonder can see that. So, does he get one? What do you think?
I think he does. And it could happen soon. This Oiler team is really good. I watched the game last night. They honestly didn't have much business being in that game after 40 minutes. Detroit was outplaying them, and Stuart Skinner kept him in it. I think that's why he was one of the game stars. He made some big saves pretty early in the game. But, you know, when the Oilers find that gear, it's a gear that I don't think, you know, other teams have. But when they find it, which isn't always often, they found it during the streak, but when they find it, man, it's hard to slow them down, and they just go. And it's a matter of, can they find it and turn it on when it actually matters and the chips are down? That's the biggest question facing the Oilers.
Yeah, buddy. I wonder if other hosts... I'll read one more. Connor Garland scored twice. Dakota Joshua added a goal and 2 assists, and NHL-leading Vancouver beat a depleted Chicago team 4-2. I wonder if other broadcasters... Maybe, do you deal with this? My cousin was watching on the replay yesterday. Jeff Goda. If anybody in Calgary recognizes the name Goda, you should. His dad, my uncle, Jack Goda, coached both the Calgary Stampeders and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Jeff just texted me watching the replay. And he says, hey, cuz, are the Stamps going to be better? Does your family write you? Your mom writes me from time to time with comments on the interviews. She really enjoyed the Kathy Gauthier interview yesterday. Paula DuPont. So I feel like, should I answer it here? Should I text him back? I don't know how to deal with this. This is a little bit... And the reason I bring that up is, in my past life, I was watching Dateline one night on a Friday, and my brother-in-law called me and said, why did the Riders punt when they were 3rd and 2 from the opposition 45-yard line? I said, leave me alone. I'm watching Dateline. Click.
How about that?
What should I do, Darren? Advise me, please. That didn't go over well.
What does the intuition tell you to do? It's usually a pretty good place to start, although it told you to hang up on your brother. So maybe it's not the best barometer to go by.
Brother-in-law. I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that to my brother. My brother wouldn't call and ask.
I was going to say, he knows better. He knows better.
He knows better.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, you know what? You've answered it on here, and it's your cousin's fault if he doesn't watch the show to get the answer.
Right? Okay. We're going to spend way longer time in the next segment on the Canadian Football League free agency. I want to talk about this. Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the 49ers. I feel like Sunday night in the mass, and I know I've been in championship games when the game ends in chaos like it did the other night. There's streamers going off everywhere, explosions, fireworks, blah, blah, blah. There was a little bit of murmur Sunday night that Kyle Shanahan, the coach of the 49ers, didn't know the rules, or at the very least didn't communicate them to his team. It's now Wednesday, and what started with a little whisper got to be a murmur on Monday, and now they're roaring on here Wednesday on the national media going, how does Kyle Shanahan not know the rules, that the overtime changes from the regular season to the playoffs in the NFL? And number two, if he did know, how does his players not know? And my question, because that's what happened. And I guess on Tuesday, he was doing a tap dance, trying to explain himself and basically saying we were waiting for a third possession because if it had worked out this way, he was trying to BS everybody because he screwed up, Darren. But no coaches will ever admit it. Nope. You can pull their fingernails out and light them on fire. They wouldn't admit that they screwed up. You know that too, right? Is it fireable? Because I've seen guys fired for less.
No, it's not fireable for Kyle Shanahan. It's fireable for some coaches, but not him in this situation. Now, he's gone to 3 Super Bowls as either a head coach or a coordinator, and he's lost them all. I believe that I saw he's also had a 10-point lead in all those games and lost. So it's not good, and it's definitely not a good look because, yeah, the tap dancing, anybody who knows can see through it. And I admire him for at least trying to stick to his guns or at least try and, stick to it. And you know what? If it had gotten to a third possession, sure, he would have been in a pretty good spot if their defense had come up with a stop or at least limited the Chiefs to a field goal. But if this was a team that just made the playoffs and got ousted in the first round, or a coach that previously had more heat on him, like maybe Mike McCarthy did this, it might be a fireable offense. But Kyle's had a pretty good resume, pretty good record, and I think he has a couple of he's got some rope to work with.
One man's opinion. That's yours. I mean, I agree with you. Basically, he's gotten his team to 2 Super Bowls. But again, there he was at the podium yesterday saying, hey, we've gotten to 2 Super Bowls. We've won some big playoff games over the years. And the analyst I was listening today, Chris Kent, he's like, yo, no, bro. You lost those Super Bowls. And this one, you wear it because your players didn't know the rules of overtime, and we're wondering if you did. And over on the other side, you got Andy Reid, who the players have said they went over all these things. And that's the one thing I'll be long dead and gone before the people realize what I've been saying for a long time. But, the fans are going to say, oh, it's the National Football League. How do they not know? There's no way they couldn't have known. Yes, there is. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why they lost the game. So if you're the owners of the 49ers, whether you fire Shanahan, you're going to be pretty pissed off. That much I know. And that speaks a lot to the experience of Andy Reid and why he might go on the Mount Rushmore of NFL coaches. There's an argument for that. Okay, we're going to run for a quick break. When we come back, you or Clark, and I apologize for lobbing you a grenade, but can we find the Bet Regal Stanley Cup futures odds as of today from Bet Regal at betregal.ca?
I'm on it.
And I could probably look it up too, but I know you guys are better at it than me. On the way, Brendan Parker of Calgary Flames TV and Taylor Shire of the Leader Post. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody. The Kinsman Telemiracle 50/50 is another way to support Telemiracle 48, Saskatchewan's charity, and also have the chance to win half the jackpot. It's truly a win-win for Saskatchewan residents. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, what are you waiting for? Thanks to those who have. If you haven't, get your tickets now at telemiracle5050.com. You have to be in the 306, though, to buy your tickets. Let's please bring the Moose in, and we've kind of opened a can of worms, which is what I wanted to do, Darren. That's what we do here. But Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in, the Moose capital, and he says, doesn't it? He writes it on the Sober Carpenter text line. I said mention it, 902-518-3033 for Sober Carpenter non-alcoholic craft beers. For Kyle Shanahan, now backpedaling as to why they took the ball to open overtime in the Super Bowl. Brian says, doesn't it make sense to take the ball first? Because then if it's a draw in the first possessions, then you get first crack and winning the game on your second possession. Or am I missing something? I don't want to get into a strategy of football coaching. Not at all. Never done it. I don't like to criticize person. What I'm criticizing is that his players didn't know the rules. Not necessarily criticizing him for taking the ball first. The point is, his players thought they were the regular season rules, and they changed in the playoffs, which, by the way, is not something the NFL should be proud of. That's kind of stupid, too. But how do you feel about Brian's comment? You've coached football, Darren. I have not.
Yeah, the idea with going second and why it's preferred is you give the other team the possession. You can't lose the game by letting the other team go first. You can't lose. And you know what you need to do. It's easier to coach the game when you have the ball second because you get into fourth down situation like San Francisco did. They were first and goal down inside the 10-yard line and fourth and goal and decided to kick a field goal. Well, when Kansas City ended up in those situations, they knew they had to go for it. And it allowed them to play free, coach free, and win the game. Yeah.
Thank you. But I think Kyle Shanahan was going by the regular season rules. He's thinking we score a touchdown and it's over. I think that's initially what he was thinking. And then he realized we're not going to get in on this fourth down situation, so we have to kick a field goal. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I think, not even thinking about regular season overtime, just saying, hey, overtime, win the toss, take the ball. Overtime, win the toss, take the ball. Not even thinking strategy.
Okay. Darren Workman in Salt Lake City says, how do you expect to win at anything if you don't know the rules? Right? Glenn in Medicine Hat writes in, you know him, golf guy, hockey guy. And he says, who gives a damn about the OT rules? Geez, stop the Chiefs and you win. It's on the defense. Hi. Jen from the Four Seasons writes in and she says, Connor with 6 assists and top 4 for fastest to 600 assists. Pretty sick feed to Kane, too. We addressed that earlier. John Schmeiser writes in and says, good morning from Kansas City. And it is a great day for the Chiefs parade. Jeff, the Stamps fan, I'll allow him this. He says, what do you mean? The NHL changes its OT rules in the playoffs? Good point. But do you not think that the NFL should have this? Like, why would you change it? It doesn't make any sense to me why they would change from the regular season to the playoffs. I can see why there would be confusion. There's not confusion in the NHL. We're going to play 3-on-3 to get a winner because we want to get out of the rink. We have it rented for 11 o'clock in the NHL regular season. Whereas the Stanley Cup playoffs, we're going to go all night. We didn't book the ice rental after for the Fireman's Rec team. Do you know what? There is a difference. He's right. He's right. The rules are different in the NHL playoffs to regular season or vice versa, but it's a little different in the NFL. And I'm not backpedaling to get myself out of that. The NHL does, but it doesn't make as much sense in the NFL. Fair? Do you feel me?
Yeah, no, it's fair. Part of it, too, is I think because they don't go continuous overtime in the regular season, when you allow more possessions based on a touchdown, there's a better chance you're going to have more tie games, which is, I think, something the NFL doesn't want. They don't want to add tie games. They want to promote you to go for it and go for wins. So I don't know. We may see a change here down the road, but for now, I'm pretty okay with it.
Oh, boy, we got some good stuff today. And I've just been informed that for whatever reason, we're not on Game Plus television today. So there's more people tuned in on YouTube, which means more comments from the audience, and I'm here for that. 902-518-3033 via text or the YouTube stream. BW in Edmonton says, the point is every NFL player will now know the Shanahan rules from now on. How would you like to have a rule named after you? I don't want to end up Munsoned out here in the middle of nowhere. Excuse me, what did you say? You know, to be Munsoned out here with no way home. How would you like to have that named after you? That I kind of feel that he's right. You got Shanahan.
You got Shanahan.
What?
It's going to be horrible, horrible. But, the saying goes that I've heard, experience is something that you get right after you needed it. And they needed it in the Super Bowl. He got it. He'll have it for next time.
Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, writes in, he says, the reason Patrick Mahomes made the game-winning drive look so easy was he knew exactly what he had to do and knew exactly how to do it against that defense. Yeah, he's like at the very least, a field goal ties this game and extends this thing, but if we get a touchdown, we win it. It's a big, big, big psychological change there. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Some people writing in about yesterday's news, which we addressed lengthily yesterday. The Jennifer Jones news, but thanks for playing. I do want to get to the CFL Free Agency, the Canadian Football League Free Agency, because that's why a lot of people came here today. I'll say this. If you go by the Roughriders Twitter feed, they are declaring themselves winners of free agency. I don't know if you saw that or not. I kind of got a kick out of that. I guess that's the new thing. What do you call it? A humble brag? You say how great you are, but you're supposed to be joking, which is kind of what they're doing here. I get it. It's fun. It's fun. The Roughriders have declared themselves winners of free agency. Deal or no deal, Moose? How you taking that?
Again, the one side is you're not going to know this till November. But you know what? All we can go by is the information we have, and I'd be okay with that, saying that the Riders are winning free agency in terms of the biggest names off the board and doing the most to improve their roster. It also tells me they're one of the teams that had the most work to do. So naturally, they were going to sign more players. But you know what? Have fun with it. It's only, middle of February, so it's only on paper for now.
Just one more. John Schmeiser in Kansas City says, a quote from Kingpin was not on my bingo card today. Well done, Rod. Oh, I could recite Kingpin lines all day. Our next guest is lined up and ready to go. So, Darren, we're going to take a timeout. I'll see you back in hour 2, okay?
You bet.
Brendan Parker of Flames TV joins us after this break. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, and upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
RP Show continues, and as you know, when we talk hockey, is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing out of Calgary, a commitment to connection and celebration of uniqueness. Visit commoncrown.ca. The Flames were at practice, and we're heading there now. Brendan Parker joins us from Flames TV, just back fresh off the road trip, getting ready to host the San Jose Sharks. Hey, VP, welcome to the program. I got to assume you were on that road trip. It looked like a lot of fun. How was it?
It was great. Yeah, we were a longer trip coming out of the break, but obviously the results were really good, and the stops were really nice too. So spread out, which is kind of rare, a 4-game road trip and not a single back-to-back in the mix there. So got a couple of extra days in Boston. Actually took in an extra hockey game. Got to see the Beanpot semifinal. Went and watched Boston College and Boston University on the first Monday night, and that was outstanding. Kind of a little bucket list hockey item checked off, and then they go 3-1 on the road trip. So all things considered, it was a pretty good 9-day trip.
Yeah, they're pretty excited in Flames land from what I can see. I just want your take on the last game. I watched it in New York, a 2-0 loss to the Rangers, where Shesterkin goes into the record books with his shutty there. I thought that was a hell of a hockey game. What was your read on it?
Yeah, you know what? Funny enough, I think it was probably the Flames' worst game of the trip, and yet, I thought it was a really competitive hockey game. I love the first period. I thought there was some edge to it. I thought it was physical. Uyghur threw a couple of checks. Obviously, Jacob Trouba right in the middle of it. But I think nowadays you kind of notice those games where there's a significant lift in the edge, where there's a couple of extra scrums, and I think in that first period alone there was 2. That involved every single person on the ice. Martin Pospisil right in the middle of it again, which you love to see, and he's been doing that since he's been recalled. I thought they played hard, played competitively, just couldn't find it. And, I thought they had some looks late to tie that game easily. I think of that Rasmus Anderson, shot that was labeled for the top corner. Shesterkin somehow gets a glove on it, and then Blake Coleman had a couple chances late stages of the third too. But Jacob Markstrom, he's just been absolutely sensational. There's no way you can leave that game without, thinking about everything that he did. Probably more so in the first period, but throughout the course of that game. And, I think in the end, it's probably, rightly deserved Rangers win. But I thought the Flames competed the whole way through.
I just got to say this on the Rangers broadcast. They opened it with this. Sam Rosen and that gang, they're like, 1 year ago, this was the game of the year in the NHL. Remember the old school,
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
the Flames side of that? Because there was a lot of buildup from the New York side of that.
Yeah, well, I think it's the same way. I mean, it was even talked about when the Rangers were here in this building earlier in the year. And I think people forget that I think the Rangers and Flames played again after that game last season too. So there was kind of 2 games in between the 2 MSG games, but they've all been pretty good and pretty competitive. And I asked Nazem Kadri on the ice after the practice just before the game on Sunday. And he said, "Oh, I said, what do you remember about that game?" He's like, "I remember I got bodied. So I don't want to be in that position again," because he was right in the center of that, well, basically the first hit. And then obviously there was Dylan Dubé in the mix and a couple of fights. And, Ryan Huska said in the morning that it was just one of the more entertaining, competitive games he's been on the bench for in his time in the NHL, head coach or assistant. And I think that kind of says a lot. It was memorable, and I don't think it quite lived up to that, but it really doesn't seem like those two teams play bad games. I mean, again, on Monday night, you had some absolute 10-bell saves. You had a couple of big hits. You had some scrums, and at the end of the day, you have a one-goal hockey game with an empty net. So I don't know, as a hockey fan, you're going to ask for much more from Madison Square Garden. It seems to always deliver.
Yeah, but a tough one. As you know, it snapped the winning streak, and that's no points coming out of that game. But now you're back home. You got San Jose coming in there next, and I will not ask you what the Flames are going to do leading up to the trade deadline, unless you want to tell me, Brendan. But what is the buzz around Calgary? Because I'm getting different mixed vibes from the fans. Right? They want to keep winning, getting into the playoffs. What are you sensing?
I think that's fair. I think even just in conversations around this rink, around minor hockey rinks, because I do that too with my son, and you get some of those questions. I think there is kind of like a mix, because you watch the way they played on the 3 games prior to at MSG as well, but that 4-game road trip, and you see just how competitive this team is. They get some offense from some different spots. They've got goaltending, obviously, right there at the top of the National Hockey League. And then their blue line has been really good. It's been steady defensively, but they've gotten a lot of offense from it too. And so I would say mixed is really fair. But at the same time, you kind of have to look at the position you're in. And obviously contractual status is going to make some decisions for you potentially. And that's the stuff that, I don't think you can ignore. We all know what happened with Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau, and I think organizationally they want to make sure that they protect your assets. And if you can't get a long-term deal signed, then and you can benefit from a trade, I think you have to look at that. And they did a good job acquiring some really nice pieces for Elias Lindholm, and that really speaks to the contract status and where that was headed. And you have to think that they're going to explore all those options. And I think from a fan base, you have, much like all times, you have some people who want to see it torn right down. You've got some people who still want to be competitive. But I think, the one thing that I've heard unequivocally is that they understand the position the team is in. And I think that kind of speaks more to those contract statuses and just sort of what's taken place over the last, couple of years here. And I think Craig Conroy has the trust of the Flames fan base. I think a couple of those trades have already helped support that. But I think this management group really does have the backing of the fan base, maybe more so than any time that we've seen here, and trust what his decision making has been and will be, and are just kind of, I think more than anything, just sort of eager to see how this is all going to play out. And I think there's probably a sentiment among players as well that I think they're probably ready for whatever's going to happen to just sort of happen. This is going to be a long wait until the trade deadline because of how much speculation, how many questions, and how many, different trade proposals have come out really since the season opened. Like, this isn't new. This has been going on, since the start of training camp. I mean, Elias Lindholm, Noah Hannafin had those questions when they got back for the golf tournament in September. So, I think more so than anything, there's probably an element of like, whatever it's going to be, let's get to the end of this trade deadline so we can all just sort of go forward.
You know what? Very well said. I got everything that you're getting across there. I hope the viewers did too. I'm sure they did. You're good at what you do. I won't keep you much longer, but I got to ask you this, because you brought up Craig Conroy. I feel like we're at a time where we should really appreciate what he says in interviews, because he's very honest and open. Like with this Lindholm trade, they're like, why was this so easy? He's like, I got what I wanted, so I hung up. I'm paraphrasing, but you know what? Why haggle? Sure. You're happy? Do the And I wonder if years down the line, he's going to be a little more tight-lipped, because he's just very honest, and I appreciate it.
It's a good question, and I'm sure there'll be the management style may change, or at least publicly over time. But I mean, that's one thing that you just love, and I think that's why going back to the fan base and the support, I think that's part of it, right? I mean, you kind of have this feeling. Obviously, he was a beloved player, and his personality, he gives so much back to the community. He's, even as an assistant general manager for years, had tons of community events where he would be there and have these conversations with fans, and is always willing to engage. So I think from that perspective, he has the support just based on who he is as a person and how he comes across too. But now, with some savvy moves in his first year as a GM, I think he's also gaining some trust about about what his vision is and what this management group's vision is for, how they want this team to look, not just post deadline, but in the years to come. And I think, that's the most important goal is to take a run at a Stanley Cup. And, I think he has a vision for it. The management group has a vision for it. And he hasn't said that publicly. I mean, he still, keeps that pretty close to the vest, but with things that have transpired, he has been pretty, forthright, pretty honest about, how they've gone about their business and what they're thinking to an extent that he's comfortable sharing. And, it translates well. I mean, even this has nothing to do with the trade deadline, but we're in Madison Square Garden. And, just to speak a little bit on who's Craig Conroy is, we had this conversation about how he scored his first ever NHL goal at MSG, and he's walking us through it, and we're standing there at MSG. There's a video actually up. We ended up shooting it afterwards, but, he's describing the play, how he saw it, and Donald Brashear set him up as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. He gets his first NHL goal. He's just a really, high energy guy and easy to like. And I think, he'll have the blessing of the Flames fans to do whatever he wants to do. And, I think to your point, that really comes through no matter what kind of interview he's doing.
Yeah, well, I hope it continues. It's been fun to follow, and I appreciate the time, Brendan. I know how busy you are. Thanks for this. Enjoy the day, and we'll be watching.
Thanks, RP. Good to talk to you, and hopefully we see you around here in Calgary soon.
Thank you, buddy. You will. Brendan Parker from Flames TV, and I really enjoyed that, and I appreciate Clark lining it up because I was just dying to get a Flames perspective. And I'm going to be honest with you. That's a guy that works for the Flames TV, but it wasn't rah-rah, was it? It was very real, and that's what I'm seeing with Craig Conroy. Let's be honest with you. I know the Flames fans aren't going to ever hear this, but it's fact. Craig Conroy inherited a train wreck. Not that the team, it's a good, talented team, but let's be honest. A bomb went off last year. Brad Treliving, gone. And then Daryl Sutter, what was it, a week later, fired? Boom, boom. It was a train wreck. And he's got to come in and clean up the pieces. And then hires a coach in Ryan Huska, who's doing a great job and is a fantastic guy. But it's a really big job that Craig Conroy has in his very first time ever in that role. And I think he's doing a great job from what I see. And what's going on the ice where they're 3 points out of a playoff spot, that's not on Craig Conroy. That is not on him. It's going to take a while for Conroy to put his stamp on this team. He's just trying to pick up the pieces from the bomb that went off. And he's doing a great job of it. Okay, when we come back, sports update, and then you and me the rest of the way to the top of the hour. And then we're going to go to Mosaic Stadium. Leader Post Taylor Shire will be with us. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG. Always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now back to the studio with Rod.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the RP Show. Man, you're in for a treat today. I'm going to have to drop a couple more bombs here. I don't get it. I don't get it. Again, as I said, you got lots of time. Well, only 10 minutes. This is going fast. 902-518-3033 to write me with whatever you would like to talk about, and I'll look at the YouTube stream in a minute. I don't get it. I pay a service. Should I name them? I don't know. I pay an exorbitant fee for a service to write my sports updates for me. This is what they say. Get this. The Winnipeg Jets are in San Jose to kick off a home-and-home series as part of tonight's NHL schedule. The games against the lowly Sharks are an opportunity for the Jets to work their way out of their recent struggles. Winnipeg's win over Pittsburgh on Saturday ended a 5-game losing streak that dropped the Jets into third in the Central Division. McWitt. The Sharks are at Winnipeg, for one. It's not in San Jose. Number two, the Sharks are at Calgary tomorrow. So what are you talking about? They got to totally wrong. So here's what's tonight. Florida at Pittsburgh. That's on national television in the States. You probably get it too. My guess is Sportsnet. San Jose at the Jets. And Minnesota at Arizona. If I have that right. Now I'm completely all screwed around. What's today's date? Do I have it right? San Jose at Winnipeg. Thank you. Yeah. Score app. They got it right, the score. Pascal Siakam returns to Toronto. Fake news. That's one thing. Misleading news where people are intentionally trying to mislead you. That's one thing. To be outright wrong is a total other story, and it's inexcusable to me, especially when I'm paying for it. Pascal Siakam returns to Toronto today as the Raptors host the Indiana Pacers in NBA play. That part's true. The Raps traded Spicy P, a two-time All-Star, and a major part of Toronto's 2019 championship team to the Pacers on January 18th. The rebuilding Raptors have gone 4-10 since the deal. Our sports updates are brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday beer, Common Beer, into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And also for Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, the movie Argyle. An introverted spy novelist is drawn into the activities of a sinister underground syndicate, starring Samuel L. Jackson, Bryan Cranston, and John Cena. In Landmark Cinemas now, Argyle. Now, I went to the Beekeeper yesterday. here, movie theater in Boca. It was $6 to get in the middle of the day. It was amazing. I love The Beekeeper. It's still showing here, and I would advocate for you to go. It gets the Monday Morning Goalie 2 thumbs up. Hey, thank you, Dan. Oh, a lot of stuff to get to. Dan in Winnipeg writes in, he says, hey, Rod, what did you think of the Super Bowl? I'm getting that a lot. We don't have a lot of time to get through that now, other than to say it was great, and I'm going to put it in my commentary tomorrow. It was like nothing I've ever seen. It was great. I'm just easing into it because it's big. The Super Bowl is big. And I didn't want to jump in head first because sometimes bad things happen when you do that. So I just eased in, stuck my toe in the pool. You know what I mean? And but the highlight, yeah, it was seeing and meeting Flava Fave. I love how much people are following because I've had people write me and say, what was your highlight? Was it meeting Flava Fave? Yes, it was. Bear with me. I'm just sending the link of the WQEE radio feed to my guy in Las Vegas right now, Dean. Hopefully he saves it. I mentioned this earlier, Jeff, the Stamps fan. He says, breaking news, Kadeem Carey to the Argos. I mentioned that right off the top, Jeff. You must not have been listening. I just dropped that in there. And I will get into a little bit of that with Moose next hour because this is where the CFL comes to talk. There ain't no two ways about that. But I kind of wonder, what does CFL free agency mean? I'm seeing a little, what does it mean now with the players jumping all over the place? Because I'm seeing the fans say lack of loyalty. I'm seeing them say it's very hard to establish a fan base or get attached to a player when they jump on the merry-go-round after every offseason. And I want to examine that a little bit because they're right. But I also feel it's not a whole lot different than any other league because there's one-year deals in every other league. You know, I think it's because it's only 9 teams versus 30 or 32. It's magnified more. But I think it hurts the brand of the league to show up at McMahon Stadium next year in Calgary and have Jamel Morrow in the backfield of the Stamps and not Kadeem Carey. Why would he leave? He left probably for more money, you know. We saw 3 Down Nation saying that Jake Dolegala, who was like my biggest name in free agency, was going to go to the Stampeders, but he hasn't signed anywhere yet. And we're over a day into free agency. I want to examine that. What does it mean with players leaving? Is it a lack of loyalty? There might be a little bit of that. But I don't know. I want to examine that with Darren. On that Flames thing, I'm not going to tell the Flames what to do, even though that doesn't stop the fans. But we talk about Masai Ujiri and his rebuild of the Raptors. The guy's won a championship, so he's got the chops to say that he knows what he's doing. And he gashed that roster, traded off the assets, went young. That's what you do. That's what you do. The Flames aren't dumb. Craig Conroy knows that. But I kind of feel that he goes above the president. That's what the people in Calgary aren't dumb. They know hockey. And it just seems that the owner, Murray Edwards, is afraid to do what the Raptors are doing. Trade all the assets. The thing with Huberdeau, bad deal. That's on Brad Treliving. Everybody knows that. You don't get rid of that contract, and I don't think you rebuild the next version of the Flames 2.0 with Jonathan Huberdeau as part of the deal, but you can't get out of a deal like that. That was just a bad one. But you can't blame Craig Conroy or Ryan Husker for that, or even necessarily John Bean. I don't know. So, okay, yeah, you know what? We'll get into those comments with Taylor, those questions about what does this free agency mean with the players hip-hopping around like they are. It's a fun debate. So we're going live to Mosaic Stadium after this quick break on Game Plus and Key Radio.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
I hope that the CFL looks at things this offseason and says, we got to do something different with this legal tampering period that they've put in. It's anticlimactic. If I say that and it pisses you off, that's your problem, not mine, because it's the truth. It's not like we used to have. Mike Riley, Bo Levi Mitchell, Zach Collaros, all were free agents. It's like, give me some. It ain't a great free agent day.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Welcome, everybody. The RP Show rolls into hour 2. I'm going to open with a lot of CFL talk here right now. And I want to, for our Winnipeg viewers, pass along condolences from the RP Show. Respect to Kenny Plain, announced yesterday passing away at the age of 88. 4-time Grey Cup champion with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. More on that later, but can I say that Joe Montana of the CFL, Kenny Plain passing away, Bombers great. There's a statue of him in front of the stadium. Went into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 1975. We're going to Mosaic Stadium right now. Taylor Shire joining us from the Regina Leader Post. Thank you, Taylor, for doing that. Where Jeremy O'Day will be meeting with the media this hour. The Riders, Taylor, proclaiming on Twitter they've won free agency. I'm sure you saw their tweet this morning. Agree or disagree, from your opinion?
Yeah, you know what? I would have to agree. They signed arguably the biggest running back free agent, probably the biggest O-lineman free agent, and those are two positions of need for this team in Ouellette and Hardrick. So yeah, certainly the Riders were winners of day one of free agency, but I think a lot of people are sort of sleeping on what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers did last week too, getting Brady Oliveira back, getting Dalton Schoen back, a couple of other key pieces from last year's team. So while Winnipeg didn't do much on the opening day, I still think they were kind of a runner-up in terms of who they've been able to retain this year, aside from losing Hardrick.
What are we expecting out of Jeremy O'Day? Just an assessment of the 7 players that they officially added on Tuesday, or what are you walking into here in 30 minutes or so?
Yeah, just basically a recap of what they did yesterday and maybe what holes need to be addressed now before we open training camp. AJ Ouellette has flown to Regina, and he's set to meet with the media in just over an hour. So it'll be sort of I think Jeremy will just be sort of a preview to the main event with Ouellette's media conference coming up later. So, yeah, just basically a recap of the day, and I'm pretty sure Jeremy O'Day is a happy guy with all the guys he signed. I think they got everybody they wanted. They crossed all the key positions off on the to-do list, to need list. So I think it was a pretty successful day for Jeremy, and I'm sure he'll be happy to speak on it.
I'm wondering your thoughts on this. You've been covering this team closely for a couple of years now. What about the loss of people that the fans have gotten to know, like Jake Dolegala, Jamal Morrow to the Stampeders, Micah Tights, drafted, not homegrown because he's from Calgary, but he's left to sign with the Stampeders. What's your read on that?
Well, I guess I'll touch on each of them. The Riders obviously decided to sign Mason Fine over Dolegala this offseason. That was sort of an interesting, kind of mind-boggling decision based on how well Dolegala played last year compared to Mason Fine. He beat him out for the starting job after Fine got hurt and didn't let go of it. So that was kind of an interesting one. Although with Trevor Harris coming back, I think there's nothing to worry about in Saskatchewan. And then, I would say Ouellette's an upgrade over Morrow at running back, although Morrow's a bit of a fan favorite. I think Ouellette's going to sort of leap over him in terms of being that number one fan favorite type of player. And Micah Tights, he kind of fell off. He was obviously hurt 2 years ago, kind of fell off last year, wasn't the same player he was 3 years ago now. So I don't know if that's a big loss for this team because he sort of lost some playing time to A.J. Allen. And the Riders signed Adam O'Clair from Ottawa to basically fill that spot. So I would say Saskatchewan sort of upgraded in 2 of those positions. They didn't really add any quarterbacks other than getting Harris healthy. So other than losing a few names who have been around for a while, I think they've still upgraded this team.
So my last question before I let you go and your arm's getting tired, what do you make of the players switching teams as often as they are? This is what the players wanted. I know that for a fact. They wanted one-year deals. So the fans are complaining about it. To be honest, I think it's largely a good thing. And it's not a lack of loyalty, I don't think, with the players switching teams, because we're in a different era of sports than we ever were. That's my take. I think it's good. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you get, obviously, with one-year contract is teams switching players. So teams aren't handcuffed into these long-term deals where they are, stuck with the player, maybe with an unfriendly deal. Maybe they're only stuck with him for 1 year. That's not going to fit within the salary cap. He's not performing up to expectations. So I think it's team friendly as well, the 1 year deals. Although for the fans, it's certainly not great because you don't really, have that fan favorite that's sticking around for 6, 7, 8 years anymore. They're jumping around and players are going to where they're wanted, where they think they could win, but ultimately where the money is and where they feel valued. And in free agency, money talks, right? You can go and go to a place where you like, but if they don't offer you the right amount of money in the right term, whether it's 1 or 2 years, then you're not going to go there, right? So I think that's why we're seeing players jump around. Is just they're wanting to go where they feel valued, and obviously with the Riders making a number of moves yesterday, they not only offered the right amount of money to these guys, but they also sort of are selling the message that this is a turnaround season. This team's going to be different this year. Obviously, Corey Mason, new head coach, is helping sell that message.
Hey, do you have a minute or do you need to go?
Yeah, go for it.
Just on Corey Mace, you've been around this team enough. Obviously, at his news conference when he was introduced, got a new feeling around there with a new offensive coordinator, too, and Mark Mueller. What's your vibe on the new coach and the new direction?
Well, I wrote about a column on the Leader Post yesterday about it, and it's just a completely different script from where this team was, at the end of the 2023 season. It was just sort of, it was just disappointment. It was just everything was down. Then all of a sudden, they hire Corey Mace. Things started to pick up. They announced all these free agents in this last week. I feel like there's just so much sort of excitement around this team this year, and And the 2022, even 2023 seasons, they're so far in the past because there's like a renewed sense of optimism here. And Corey Mace, I think, when he's speaking in fan and media forums, fans want to cheer for him. And then obviously players want to play for him. A number of players on social media over the last couple of months have said, Corey Mace is the guy. Like, this is the guy that he's nothing but salt of the earth type of guy that you want to play for. And so obviously we saw that yesterday with the number of players signing here. Some had connections with him, some didn't. Hardrick, for example, spoke about how he reached out to other players from around the league, and they all said, oh, Mace is the guy. Mace is the guy. You want to play for Mace. You want to play for Mace. So that's one example. They got Hardrick basically because Corey Mace came in here, and I don't know if they would have got him, if Corey Mace wasn't hired.
Taylor, wonderful insight. I appreciate it, man. You're doing a great job. I appreciate it. And have a great day. Thanks for fitting us in.
Of course. Talk to you soon.
Taylor Shire, the Leader Post, one of the great guys of this media business. Okay, well, hey, this is why you came here, letting it roll, the authentic stuff. We're going to go for another about 8 minutes. We'll break and bring Moose in. I'm going to read some of the comments from the audience here. Hey, comments do not reflect the views of the host nor the network carrying the show. J.B. Brown writes in and says, CFL is absolute bush league. Get what you can when you can. That doesn't really mean that it's bush league. Every league is like that. The one thing is with the major four, NFL, NBA, MLB, and whatever I'm forgetting, it used to be that mentality. Get what you can when you can. Now that the money's so crazy in those leagues, you can sign long-term, short-term, whatever. It's going to be a great deal in those leagues. CFL is still in that mindset. Get what you can when you can. Who wouldn't? I'll never forget sitting around with the players because they do listen to what the fans say. They say they don't, but they do. And these were pro football players, and they were saying, oh, these fans, they would jump across the street. If they were bagging groceries at Safeway, they'd jump across the street to save on foods for $1 more an hour. But I want to sign for $15,000 more, and they're mad at me? Yep. So you can't listen to them. It's your lucky day, everybody. You're getting no censorship of the comments. John says, my optimism will rise when they get rid of this current Riders GM. I like the coach, but O'Day and Reynolds, bye-bye, please. J.B. Brown says, okay, thanks, Rod. It doesn't mean that it's Bush League because the guys are jumping around for more money. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? It's just in those major leagues now, any good deal or bad deal is a great deal for every player. It just is. One contract in those leagues is generational money, really. Glenn in Medicine Hat says, shouldn't loyalty be a two-way street? I don't feel like we have time to get into that one. We'd like to think so, Glenn, but it's not. I do want to read a text from my friend Chris from the Bronx. He wrote in last hour about, I said I was running 5 miles today listening to ESPN radio, and they're roasting Kyle Shanahan. They were today on ESPN radio for not knowing the rules of overtime in the Super Bowl, or at the very least not communicating them properly to their team, to his players. Chris says, 5 miles, way to go. Good stuff on Morgan Riley. 5 games may be too much, even though he nearly took his head off. I feel like we have to be careful with the exaggeration. Have we ever actually seen somebody's head taken off in the game of hockey? Have we seen that? No, we haven't. So he didn't almost take his head off. That is, and thank you, Chris, from the Bronx, for reminding me what our poll question is today. It's regarding the suspension of 5 games to Morgan Riley of the Leafs, and it's 1:11 Eastern right now. I'm just pointing that out. Our poll question for Key Auto Group at the Key Auto Group. You can buy with confidence knowing that they provide reports on all vehicles they sell. Get fully informed about your next vehicle by going to keyautogroup.ca. Let's just recap. Morgan Riley of the Leafs suspended 5 games by the National Hockey League yesterday. That was predicted by Matthew Barnaby, a guy that's forfeited over $250,000 to the National Hockey League due to suspensions over his career. It's a simple yes or no. What are they saying on YouTube now, Clark? What's the vote at, if you don't mind? Or do you have a hand free to have a... You put 3 options. Oh, okay. He says yes is winning by 56% of the vote, and that's very similar. I put it on our Instagram poll, too, our Instagram page. Go give us a follow there, at The Rod Pedersen Show. And 55% were saying yes. They agreed with the 5-game suspension. And I'll just say this. I mean, I don't get offended anymore. I'm going to put out my opinion, and whether they agree or they don't, doesn't matter. I'm not going to fight and throw a fit. I think it's way too much. And that's just from the era that I come from. What's interesting about that is I look around. Been doing a lot of reflecting lately. This is my 36th year in the business, and I'm 51. So do the math on that. I've been doing it since I was 16. And there's a lot of people way older than me still in there. I feel so old. That's why I came to Florida. Man, I'm old, where the late show starts at 4:30. So I'm not the only old school one. So a lot of people have gotten with the program. I haven't. I still think that if you do something, when you rub it in the face of the opposition, like Ridley Gregg did the other night of the Ottawa Senators, you have to pay the price. I might remind you, I like to play with the fans on the road and of other teams too. But I also paid the price for it. In some cases, I'm still paying the price for it. So what's the punishment? David writes in and says, yeah, I was going to say, you're talking about Jerry James, right? He goes, Jerry James also passed away. When did Jerry James pass away? I don't think, did he pass away, Clark? I don't think so. Oh, today? No! Kid Dynamite? Oh, that's terrible. Okay. Thank you. David, you're on top of it. I'm not sitting here in this chair, not aware of the breaking news. Now, that is something, man. I'd have to go dig through my photos because I got one of me and Kid Dynamite. I never met Kenny Plain, but I want to say this. And kudos and respect to our friends in Winnipeg, because I know that Kenny Plain is your guy. I knew some things about him. I didn't know everything about him. From Lost Nation, Iowa, Kenny Plain, born in 1935, drafted by the Cleveland Browns, played 11 seasons with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He also filled in at halfback and safety. He led his team to 6 Grey Cup appearances, including 4 victories, 1958, 1959, 1961, 1962. Into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 1975. Did he not, you Winnipeggers, help me out here, did he not sell radio advertising at CJOB for years and years and years? And I know that there's a statue of him in front of Investors Group Field. He is all that, Kenny Plain. And then you got Jerry James, Kid Dynamite. Man, they say they come in threes. Jerry James, yes, played in the Stanley Cup and the Grey Cup in the same year. They literally do not make them like that anymore. Just an absolute icon, Jerry James. I spent time with Jerry James. We'll be back. Moose and I have our Bet Regal breakaway NHL games for the night. And also we have Bet Regal Stanley Cup odds for futures. Your favorites? Agree or disagree? It's a lot of hockey and football ahead. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the RP Show on a Wednesday, right? It's episode number 1180. And just before we bring the Moose back in, I read it yesterday. I'm going to read it again. Multi-double platinum artists, the Reclaws, will get the 2024 Montana's Brier presented by AGI off to a rousing start when they play a free concert at the Patch on March 1st, Curling Canada announced. Fresh off the incredibly successful 2023 tour and the release of their new single, I Grew Up on a Farm. The popular sibling act of Jenna and Stuart Walker will set a partying tone for the most famous national curling championship in the world. And you can be there. Get your tickets at curling.ca/tickets, and we'll see you at the Montana's Brier in the Brent Center. Let's bring the Moose in, and I'm sorry, it was a bit of a, I don't know if you were watching the last segment. It hit me like a gut punch, Moose. The Ken Plain thing was one. That was in honor of the Bomber fans and the Winnipeg people. I never met Kenny Plain. I just knew how much they loved him. The Joe Montana of the CFL, 4 Grey Cup championships. Like, I'm sitting here kind of, I never actually looked into Kenny Plain's background. I just knew he was great. And all my friends in Winnipeg loved him. You know, sports doctor, Roger Curry and Jeff Courier talked to him a lot. Wow. Why are we talking about Ricky Ray and these guys when Kenny Plain won more Grey Cups as a starter than them? That's the recency bias that I hate, and I fell victim to it. So, anyways, I just want to point that out, and I just wonder what your thoughts are on Jerry James. Edwin Fitzgerald James, born in 1934 in Regina, Saskatchewan, played for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers between 1952 and 1964, and the Toronto Maple Leafs between 1955 and 1960. He's a member of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. and born in Regina, and in a period where the seasons overlapped, he became the only player to play in the Grey Cup and the Stanley Cup final in the same season. Like, my God. Can you imagine? Like, he was Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders before there were Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders. And I bet you back then nobody thought it was a big deal.
Why is there not a statue of that man? And maybe there is somewhere, because that's pretty remarkable. In an era where if you were a great athlete, you were a great athlete and you could play anything. You know, the natural athlete, we have natural athletes now, but the specialization runs so deep that you have to choose, and you have to choose at an early age. But man, what an era that was, and what an athlete, man. To do both those things, that'll never be done again.
Well, and there's more. Not only that, just a brief sidetrack for a second. This is why I think people come back to this show, is the stories. And where Jerry James came on my radar was in the late 70s or 80s when he was coaching the SJHL. I feel like he's coached, I'd have to look it up, but he's coached Weyburn, Melville for sure. I think Estevan. They talk about him as such an icon in those communities. Just as a hockey coach, I didn't know that he played. I should have known, because every coach played at some point. And my dad talked about Jerry Jones like he was Toe Blake or Scotty Bowman. You know what I mean? And there was a story in Yorkton Terriers. I think it was Yorkton or Melville. He was coaching the team. They were struggling with attendance. It was like minus 54 in the 80s. And Jerry went on the radio, and he said, anybody that comes to the game tonight, if their car won't start, I personally will boost it in the parking lot if you buy tickets and come to the game tonight. Could you imagine a coach doing that now? There is, by the way, no chance.
Zero chance of that happening today.
Yeah. A lot of the Winnipeg people chiming in. I on Kenny Plain, obviously. John Ohm says, Bob Irving had a lot of nice things to say about Kenny Plain today. Rod, get Bob Irving on the show. We're working on it.
How about
Jay
that?
in Winnipeg says, I second that Bob Irving request.
Bob's
I got to see if I have. Listen, I'll say this. Oh, thank you, Clark, for the note that just popped up in my WhatsApp. I don't even know if I have Bob Irving's number, although I probably do. When I got smoked as voice of the Riders, he was the first guy to call me. Yeah, I got it. Actually, I have 3 numbers for Bob Irving. Why would I have 3 numbers for Bob Irving? I don't know, but I do. But I'll tell you another story, and I guess we'll at some point get on point here, but Clarence Iron. Remember the name Clarence Iron. You're going to be hearing a lot about this. He's calling the Battle of Alberta on Saturday, Oilers and Flames, on Cree, in the language of Cree. I don't know what it's on, what radio station, what channel, I don't know. Because I don't listen to Cree TV and radio stations. That's not a racist thing. I don't understand the language, so I don't listen to it. But Clarence and I go back to the 1993 North American Indigenous Games. Do the math. It's 31 years ago. When I first got hired in PA at CKBI, I'm covering the North American Indigenous Games. Clarence Iron is broadcasting it on MBC. On MBC. Mississippi Broadcasting Corporation. And he's doing play-by-play of every single sport. Clarence Iron. Listen, I'm got a hell of a story here. So I'm sitting beside him on the bleachers in the high school gymnasium at Carleton Comp in PA, and he's calling the play-by-play of Team Minnesota versus Team Alberta. Blah, blah. And he leans over to me. He's like, hey, Rod. And I just met him. How much is a basket? I said, 2 points, Clarence. Okay, thanks. Back to the play-by-play. And then he's doing play-by-play of the rodeo on radio. And he's making it entertaining. He's like, here comes the cowboy out of LaRonge, Saskatchewan. He ropes that calf, but the calf is saying, no way, cowboy. You're not going to catch me. This is unbelievable. I lost track with Clarence, and he got a hold of me this week, and he said, would you come on my radio show? So I went on with him today, and I'm getting to a point, man, because Matt Dunnigan told me at Grey Cup in Regina 2 Grey Cups ago, He goes, everything that you've put out good in the world is now coming back to you. And Clarence said on the radio today, he goes, Rod, I got interested in doing hockey play-by-play when you invited me up to the booth in PA, when you were voice of the Raiders. I was 20 years old. I don't honestly even remember doing that. But Clarence goes, when I got this appointment to call the NHL in Cree this weekend, I was thinking of you because you got me interested in it and you welcomed me in and you opened the doors for me into hockey broadcasting. And I appreciate that. And I was like, takes a long time sometimes for these things to come around that he would remember that. Clarence Iron. Unreal. Saturday, he'll be calling the game. I can't believe that's wild. Wild to me. I'm still trying to get my mind around
That's super cool. Super cool. We talk about the universe and we do the 111 and the 1111 thing and the, you know, the angel music plays and all that kind of stuff. And it's great. And we talk about, you know, good always wins in the end and karma comes around. And sometimes it feels like it's never going to happen, or sometimes it feels like the good's never going to come back, right? But it just takes time. And you just hope you're still on this earth when it finally comes around. Because it, you know, here it is coming around and what a cool story of the way things happen.
I couldn't believe that. 902-518-3033. And Clarence, by the way, will be on this show on Monday. I went on his show today, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And he'll be calling the Battle of Alberta, Oilers and Flames on Saturday in Cree. I'm guessing some CBC channel or APTN. I don't know. But beyond that, I asked you, and thank you. Trust me, wasn't going to ask you to do it and not use it. Find the NHL Stanley Cup futures odds from Bet Regal, our exclusive betting partner. And I just want to ask the viewers if they simply agree with this. I saw another betting company had put it up, and I'm like, well, we have our own, so let's post theirs. Did you pay any attention to this, or did you just? Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah, thank you. Edmonton Oilers, #1, the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup right now. #2, Colorado. #3, Boston. #4, the Florida Panthers. #5, the Carolina Hurricanes. #6, the New York Rangers. And you can see from there, Vancouver Canucks, Vegas Golden Knights, Dallas Stars, Toronto Maple Leafs, Winnipeg Jets. Like, how many teams is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 11 teams, and 4 are Canadian teams. If we can bring the Moose back in. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm getting caught between going back and forth between viewer comments and this. Okay. John Ohm in Winnipeg says the hockey game in Cree is on APTN, Aboriginal People's Television Network, Battle of Alberta. Colin in Ottawa says the reason you have 3 numbers for Bob Irving is because he's over 70 and has both a landline and pager to go along with his cellular phone. Probably. And Jeff the Stamps fan says, you're not taking the Monday off, the holiday off? No, we're not. We'll be on the air right here on this TV station, radio station, and whatever else, streaming station. Back on point, squirrel. Because if you look at the overall NHL standings right now, this is why I was a little blown away. The Oilers aren't anywhere near the top of the NHL in terms of points. Now, I haven't looked for a while, but am I not right on that?
You're right. They're not near the top of the NHL standings. But the betting is different, man. And it's similar to power rankings. It's similar to betting odds. You know, we use the past to predict the future a little bit, but you can only use so much of the past because what happened at the beginning of the year isn't necessarily an indicator of what's going to happen now. So you got to take a smaller sample size, and I don't think there's any question the Oilers have been one of, if not the best team in the National Hockey League over the last month or more. So that's a real indication that that's going to continue. Where are teams at now? Now I look at teams that have faltered a little bit. This is what I love. I really love looking and scouring for value, right? Who are teams that have fallen off a little bit, that the betting odds are saying, you know, devaluing a little bit? Teams I look at, Winnipeg, who have faltered a little bit, but still really good. They're at 11th. I looked at the Vegas Golden Knights, who have faltered a bit lately. They are still very, very good. They have great odds now that you can really win some money on. Even the Toronto Maple Leafs have fallen back a little bit. So there are some teams there where I look not necessarily at taking the Oilers, number one. I would look at Vegas, Toronto, Winnipeg, one of those teams that have higher odds where you can find some value to bet on.
Well, this betting game, I'm too old to go digging into lockers, so I don't think I'll ever really figure it out. Kevin the Medium writes in and says, I need to have a chat with these odds makers. The Medium says, Canucks. John Ohm says, the Stanley Cup list is a joke. Yeah, I think it is. The Oilers are actually 11th overall in the NHL. I kind of get what you're saying. It's who's hot. But the spread maker, which I think is also the odds maker, did have San Francisco favored by 2 to win the Super Bowl. Now, I understand you throw in turnovers, penalties, and conspiracies, and nobody's going to accurately guess it. But the Oilers are 11th overall in the standings. I know, but they were 2-8, Rod, when they fired the coach. You're saying who's hot now? Vancouver's been hot from day one till now. They should still be number one, and I think of the odds.
I know.
The second I saw that, I was like, I don't get this.
Yeah. You got to take into past playoff performance with Vancouver, too. A little inexperience there. That's going to play a factor in betting, which is why I love Vegas and where they are. I probably would put $20 on Vegas, and Winnipeg. Not that Winnipeg has the experience, but Vegas does. And when the chips are down, I like Vegas to go somewhere in the playoffs. So I'd be running to the sports book right now and potentially putting $10 on Vegas.
I want to say something else, and we're going to break. But this afternoon, Serena and I will be recording our Cats and Bolts podcast, and I'm tremendously excited because we're going to Tampa Bay this weekend to watch the Panthers and the Lightning in Tampa. And I put this out to our audience. You see, I'm not inundating folks with Panthers talk. This is a Canadian sports talk show on Canadian television. Yes, on the radio in Atlanta, but they love us there. They love any NHL talk. But on that podcast, I put it out today. And I didn't even think I'd get any answers to our followers. They're all Floridians following us on the Cats and Bolts Instagram feed. I said, what questions would you like addressed? Here are some of them, Darren. They're not dumb. Number one, I said, any questions or topics? One guy says, when will this become a rivalry? Lightning and Panthers. We're going to talk about that because in Alberta, we should be breaking here, but I got to get this off my chest. I'll forget. In Alberta, they get up every day. In Edmonton, they would love to see a bomb drop on Calgary. And in Calgary, they would love to see a bomb drop on Edmonton. They hate each other all day, every day, year-round. That's a rivalry. Here, there's too much love in Florida. There's too much manifestation going on. There's too much So we'll talk about that on the podcast. Gritty is the best mascot in the NHL. Thoughts? The Flyers. Well, here we have Stanley C. Panther and Victor E. Rat, who, incidentally, I always get mixed up with Martin E. Rat. Would you like to see Florida in an outdoor game? Hell yeah. Love to play it at the Marlins Park. Can you imagine Panthers Lightning in the baseball stadium here? Why haven't we done that yet? Do y'all like the Panthers or the Lightning more? Or is it 50-50, says one guy. We'll address that on the podcast. Some guy asking if we're going to have a tailgate party before any game. So it's fun, and that's why I started that show, just to keep that focus there, and it's gone exactly the way I wanted, and my God, that's rare. We'll be back in a moment. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacroix. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the RP Show. Just ahead of bringing the Moose in, we got breaking news on this Wednesday. Oh, my gosh, I love daytime sports talk, TV, and radio because of breaking news like this. We got good news and we got bad news. The BC Lions announced today the signing of American quarterback Jake Dolegala to a one-year contract. The 27-year-old Dolegala joins the Lions after 2 seasons with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, where he was pressed into starting duty for the final 9 games after injuries to Trevor Harris and Mason Fine. Jake signed with the Cincinnati Bengals as a non-drafted free agent back in 2019, spent the entire season on the practice roster there with New England in 2020. After attending 2021 camp in Green Bay, Jake Dolegala was signed by the Miami Dolphins practice roster that October. That's the good news. The bad news, the Winnipeg Football Club is once again saddened to learn of the passing of another Blue Bombers icon in Jerry James, who died Tuesday at the age of 89. News of the death came just hours after the club learned Kenny Plain had also died at the age of 88. Born in Regina like all us great ones were. Jerry James was the son of another Winnipeg Football Club legend in Eddie Dynamite James, and earned the nickname Kid Dynamite for his prowess on the football field. He was also an exceptional hockey player and made his NHL debut with the Leafs in 1955. Played in 149 NHL games and is the only player to suit up for both the Grey Cup and the Stanley Cup in the same season. Sports Update is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In theaters now, Anyone But You, the Valentine Encore, starring Alexandra Shipp and Glenn Powell. And also Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. Let's bring the Moose back in. And, I told you that I was talking to my guy, Jeff, the hotelier to the stars yesterday. And he said that I looked very comfortable and very happy on the air yesterday. I'm like, I am those things. And I think a lot of it is, you know what? It's not just the environment and the weather and being with the greatest gal ever. But I watched a hell of a lot of Pat McAfee. Because he's on for 3 hours, right? We're on for 2. So our first 2 hours run at the same time as him. But then he's on a third hour. I think it's YouTube only. Whatever it is, I went and watched his show. And I'm sitting there going, he doesn't act like it's all he's got everything figured out. He asks a lot of questions that he can't figure out. And that's kind of me, too. He's just real. My friends that I stayed with, probably listening right now, Dean and Debbie Thomas, they went into the Vegas Strip on the Friday night, and they let it all hang out on the Vegas Strip on Friday night. Well, I stayed at home. You saw the picture that I put up with my feet up on the coffee table and the fireplace on, and I really studied McAfee. And I'm like, he doesn't act like he's all that. I don't want to act like I'm all that. I don't know everything. He just lets it rock and be real. That's what I think people love. So having said all that, with Jake Dolegala signing with the BC Lions today, my mind immediately went to, like every fans would, well, John Hodge said he was going to go to Calgary. And I'm like, when you report something and it ends up being wrong, the fans now never, ever let you forget. And to be honest with you, 100 years ago, when I had a discussion with Bob McKenzie, Bobby Margarita, about the insider business, but remember, this was pre-internet. Bob McKenzie said, don't worry if you're wrong, people don't remember. Well, now the sons of bitches screenshot it. They don't let you forget, and they don't forget. And I'm just and is this just a CFL thing? Because it still haunts me. I am haunted by people that say, well, you said, Rod, the Stampeders were going to be sold. They were going to get sold. I almost got hung by CSEC for reporting that. And my report might have actually muddled up the sale. But after I reported it, the sale went kablooey. I don't know what caused that. But I'm like, I think I'm done here. Because it's a different time. Is it just a CFL thing, or is that, do you see examples of this in every other league that I'm missing?
No, I do. It happens everywhere. But there's a difference between being wrong and a story evolving, like that sale. That's an evolving story. So at the time of the report can be true. That they're looking to be sold, that they're close, they're getting to the finish line. And then the story can evolve that they got to the finish line and the negotiations broke down or things changed. And then they ultimately never got sold. So that's tough. And the fans don't always realize that, or the social media users don't always realize that. They just want to say, you're wrong, it never happened. Well, look, it never happened, you're wrong. Right, but the story was reported truthfully and it changed. I look at Jamel Morrow, who we find out, I was reading social media and commercial breaks, Farhan Lalji says he's not going to sign in Calgary now because of the medical. There's issues with the medical. Well, saying he was going to sign in Calgary was true. And then we learn more information, the medical happens, and we learn more information and report a change in that story. It happens. It happens. We have to be open to that. So it's a tough business, and the fans, even if they won't understand that, will come at you, and you got to be able to deal with that, and that's not easy.
Well, I mean, I'm okay with dealing with people. Trust me, I just brush them off. But I'm just like, it's very hard. I'm just asking if there's examples of other leagues of this happening, where there was a signing. Oh, wait a minute. No, there wasn't a signing. You know what I mean? I just feel like I don't hear that as much in other leagues. That's all. And I get the sense that you can't think of any.
I go to Brady and maybe the Miami stuff, or there was probably a lot of misinformation being thrown around with Tom Brady in certain cases, but not quite like this. This is a little different, that's for sure. You don't often see this happen on a regular basis at all in the NHL or in the NFL, for that fact.
Colin in Ottawa writes in and says, Rod, who was CSEC going to sell the Stampeders to? I appreciate the question, but I can't say, and it doesn't matter now. We'll take one more final timeout and come back with overtime. Are you okay to stick around with me for it, Moose? Why not?
Of course. We got to play breakaway bets.
All right. Right. That's all coming up next for Overtime Hockey Lanes after this brief pause on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Okay, we're back, everybody, for Overtime. Proudly brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Calgary is a hockey city, so why haven't you checked out Overtime Hockey Lanes yet? 28th Street Northeast is the place to be, where skill and fun collide. They got a licensed bar and restaurant in there. Go check them out. Tell Michelle and Randy that Rod sent you. The RP Show, OT Hockey Lanes, just a slap shot away. How about a snapshot away from the old Crossroads Flea Market? Let's bring in the Moose. I've been telling a lot of stories today, Moose. I'll tell you another one. If anybody wants to know why I don't want to go back to the old life. We got the breakaway bets coming up here, but I always think of the Crossroads. Here's why. Do you know where that is? On 16th Avenue East?
No. You
Northeast?
say Crossroads,
Okay.
my mind goes to Cross Iron Mills, which isn't close.
Well, it's like straight south of there. So stick with me. This actually happened. I called a game, I want to say it was Thanksgiving Day Monday, 100 years ago. Saskatchewan Roughriders at the Calgary Stampeders on the radio. And the team was flying back to the Queen City, but I was hooking up with the Regina Pats. They had played in Lethbridge earlier in the day. So the bus was coming up from Lethbridge. I said to the equipment driver, Chris Parsons Delivery, Pipes was his nickname. I said, Pipes, can you drive me over to the east side of Calgary from McMahon and drop me off at the Crossroads Flea Market? I got my broadcast gear. I got my suitcase. I'm going to walk to the corner of 16th Avenue Northeast and Deerfoot, and the bus is going to stop and pick me up on the side of the road. That's exactly what happened. Dale Durkach was the head coach of the Pats. He's probably listening right now. So that would have been about 09, 15 years ago. And I didn't feel like a loser, but for some reason I must have, because that's what rings in my mind. Me trugging like Steve Martin, leaving the airport, LAX, with my gear down 16th Avenue from the Crossroads to pick me up on the side of the highway on Deerfoot, the Pats bus, where it pulled over, coming up from Lethbridge on Highway 2. You know the sounds? Getting on the, hey, guys, don't want to do that anymore.
You're out there.
I'd like to say it was...
The tie is flapping in the wind. The comb over is going off, matted down. Yeah. Cars are going by, splashing you.
Are you saying I had a comb over?
I don't know what you had back then. But for some reason, my mind... you said, what movie did you say? But all I can picture is like a Mr. Bean type character waiting on the side of the road. Like that's what my mind goes.
That's basically what I was. Yeah. When I say I don't get offended, I don't get offended. I'm just having fun. We are here to entertain. Hey, Bill Edwards writes in. He says, best story yet. Yeah, well, it might have been topped by the one off the top of the show, which I don't think you saw, Bill. He's the guy that sent me the Ron and Don bobblehead. Can I tell it again, Darren, since we're near the end of the show?
The sniper got him. Yes, tell the story.
I bumped this stool before the show, and Ron and Don did it on the floor. And which I didn't think was that big of a deal. Usually it just snaps off. I glue them back on, and Bob's your uncle. In this case, Ron McLean landed on his head, and it looked like a sniper got him. So this is 15 minutes before the show. So I race into the house. I grab this Gorilla Glue, which, by the way, I solidly endorse. That stuff is like the old crazy. Never mind. I pull on rubber gloves now. I don't handle this stuff with my bare skin because if you get it on you, it takes days to come off your skin. So I'm gluing Ron McLean's head together. She is like, what is going on? Serena goes, what's going on? I said, a sniper got Ron McLean, blew his head apart. She's like, what? And I'm like, no, the bobblehead, not for real. No. She thought she'd missed something in the Canadian news that Ron McLean had been targeted today. No, just the bobblehead. So when I've made this decision, Bill Edwards, you sent me this. I need to pay far more care to these. It's not making the trip over to the Podcast Junkie studio today. Because, again, the back of his head's starting to look like my back of my head. Big gash in it. So, yeah, that happened today. Ryan in Saratoga, New York says, Pipes is a great nickname. Enjoy your hump day, Rod Squad. Terry, the lawyer, writes in and says, enjoying the show daily, RP. Thank you, Terry. Paul in Humboldt says, I'm old. I remember thinking Bo Jackson, Jerry James was the first two-sport athlete. Jeff in Yorkton says, see, it was still an interesting free agency as some people had a change of heart or medical issues. Well, there's that. Stacy, watching at Access World Headquarters, says, great show today, Rod Squad. Randy from Winnipeg says, hump day and Valentine's Day. Enjoy. NHL. Oh, yeah, here's one. Serena says she's said this for a long time. She doesn't celebrate Valentine's Day, so I didn't get her anything. I come home from the
How'd that
gym
go
today,
over?
and she's got a card and cake that she bought and ice cream, and she's making me supper. I'm like, for real? But I did put a nice post of the two of us up on my Instagram, which she didn't do, so I feel like we're even.
I saw. Very nice photo. Well done.
I feel like we're even. She liked that. NHL breakaway bets for our exclusive betting partner, Bet Regal. Are you ready?
Let's go.
The Florida Panthers at the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. Who wins?
Give me Florida.
Yeah, that's two of us. Don Johnson lives. The San Jose Sharks at the Winnipeg Jets. This shouldn't be close. Yeah. Well, this is going to be easy. We're going to have to split up on one of these. The Minnesota Wild at the Arizona Coyotes.
I'll take the Coyotes.
Yeah? Well, you know what? Okay, because I'll take Minnie. I still haven't heard from anybody why Marc-Andre Fleury didn't play the other night in Vegas, but the Wild is rolling. I think they'd won 3 of 4 or 4 of 5 or maybe 7 of 8. I don't know. It's a hazard. Too many stats and analytics going in and out of our head. Thank you, John Ohm says, best darn show. Dude, I'm so happy today. We covered the CFL, the NHL, the NFL. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So now we're going to slide on over and talk some Panthers and Lightning hockey on the Cats and Bolts podcast. Moose, you have yourself a great RP show day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good podcast.
Thank you, bud. Thanks to Brendan Parker, Taylor Shire. Most of all, thanks to you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at noon Eastern here on Game Plus and Key Radio.
Spicy.
Who has more fun than us?